Before we start the podcast, I just want to talk to you guys about Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast, and let me explain why. First of all, it's free, so you can get it anywhere, anytime, costs no money. Second of all, there's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer, whatever device you choose. As well as that, Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more platforms. You can make money from your podcast too with no minimum listenership. That means a nobody podcast like mine can make money off of sponsorships. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So if you haven't tried Anchor or you want to start a podcast and haven't tried it yet, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. That's ANCHOR.FM to get started.
You're listening to the Dillo's Dojo podcast, hosted by Dylan Dillo Smith, Midwestern Ontario one and only MMA podcast, where we interview MMA fighters and voice actors like Sergeant Frank Woods.
What is up, everybody? It is Dillo, and welcome to another episode of the Dillo's Dojo podcast. Today is May 2nd, 2021, as of the time of recording this. And I didn't record last week because I spent some family time a little bit and just decided to spend some time to myself. But this week, we'll be talking about last week's pay-per-view, and we'll be talking about the event that just happened on Saturday. As well as, before we get into UFC 261, we've got some weird news to talk about in terms of news. We've got Diego Sanchez and Joshua Fabia in the news, and not for some weird, pre-fight workout bullshit. This time, it's kind of gotten a little serious, so we'll get into that, and I'll just kind of cover everything, but, so I guess let's just get into everything. So let's start with the Diego Sanchez bullshit. So I guess, how do I get into this? So I think it was around Wednesday night, maybe Thursday, Diego released something saying that that he was released from the UFC or something like that, and then tagged a bunch of promotions like ONE FC, Bellator, Bare Knuckle was even, tagged and all that. So he stated that he was a free agent. And then on his Instagram, he also posted 2 videos. And it was essentially just in order. It started off, it's the fighter meeting. So about, I want to say a month or so, maybe a couple weeks before the actual event, they have these meetings with the fighter and the corner. And the fighter kind of tells the broadcaster, the people, like the press, what they're planning to do that night, what they've been working on, just kind of talking their big talk, hyping themselves up. So they're kind of giving the broadcasters on the night of something to talk about. It's just kind of like a little bit of their way to get information. And so at this fighter meeting, it's Diego's turn to kind of speak and, say all of this shit that all the other fighters want to say. But instead of Diego, I don't even think, I don't know the actual full context of it. I don't know if it happened after Diego had his fighter meeting or if it happened when Diego walked in because he brought Fabio with him. But what happened was, and Stephan Bonner, I mean, he was recording it for all the wrong reasons. He was trying to get some dirt for Fabia and Diego, but he's still a G for recording this because we've gotten kind of a look into Fabia's psyche. So the video starts, and it's Joshua Fabia standing beside Diego Sanchez. And just note that throughout this entire, the 2-parter video, both are, I believe, 3 minutes or something like that, Diego is completely silent the entire time. He barely moves. He maybe turns his head once or twice. He's silent, and he's just staring at Joshua Fabia. So it starts, Fabia comes in and starts saying some shit about, okay, so before we start this, I don't want you to ask any questions or to start talking about how Diego's ruining his legacy, or what Diego's ruining is starting to ruin his legacy of the fighter. This guy. I know you guys love him, and just pretty much telling them to ask easy questions, and then it started getting into like questions about him, and it got really personal. Like he got a little upset. It started to escalate to the point where like he started kind of almost trying to directly call out the broadcasters. I remember at one point he said something about looking at like he said something about like, I know how you guys talk about these, you're all about this tough guy shit and all that, and then all you hear is Paul Felder just going, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And all of a sudden he starts getting with Paul Felder saying, well, you say whenever he walks out during his fights, you say some shit about my training or something like that. And Paul Felder immediately just gets defensive, and rightly so, saying like fuck you, man. I've never called one of his fights. I don't know what you're talking about. And Fabia just gets like, he doesn't get angry. He's trying to keep his cool, and it's clear, but he gets very defensive very fast because he doesn't want the broadcast team to talk about Diego and his camp and Joshua Fabia and all that. And it seems that Fabia thinks that the jokes about him, he thinks that the jokes about him are made by the broadcast team. Like all the memes on social media that are like shared throughout the entire MMA community about him, he thinks they're perpetuated or, at least created or something by the broadcast team. And then it's just massively shared amongst us. No, it's just what the fans think out of their own, like what they're thinking, just for a second here, I'm just going to be real. Joshua Fabia is absolutely batshit insane. Like he's been at workouts with Diego and told him to like breathe in, breathe out, and doing some yoga shit with him. And they've done some like weird fucking bullshit. There's stories that at Fabia's gym, he chases the people around with a knife around the cage, and that like teaches them like survival instinct or some dumb shit like that. He's just a batshit insane person. He's gotten into altercations with a lot of people, like not physical altercations, but he's very defensive, so he's gotten into like verbal altercations with people like Matt Serra and stuff. He's just a fucking idiot, and he thinks it's the broadcasters perpetrating these memes, causing these memes to be created. No, it's the fans. It's what they think based on what they've been seeing, what you've been doing at open workouts, stuff that you've been saying in interviews and shit. It's all what the MMA community thinks of you. It's not what the broadcasters are saying. It's what the MMA community thinks of you. Whenever the broadcasters talk about you, they try not to fucking disparage you. And I know how hard that is because you, my friend, are a fucking idiot. But for real, man, like it's not the broadcasters causing this shit. It's the fans and what they've just observed over the past couple of years of you being with Diego. It's like genuinely, I feel like you're just using Diego to make money off of him because he's such a legend and such a fan favorite. And you're quickly tarnishing that legacy because you're a fucking crazed yoga master or whatever. But anyway, that's my rant. There's more to this though. So after these two videos were released and Diego was released from the UFC, Dana kind of came out and trashed Fabia and kind of just said pretty much the same shit I said, that you're out of your fucking mind. It's not the broadcasters that are, causing the fan thoughts about you. It's what they've observed. You're a fucking crackpot, stuff like that. So I believe yesterday, maybe Friday, Fabia, well, on Diego's account, Fabia leaks a personal phone call with the UFC's lawyer, Hunter Campbell. And I got the article up right here. We're going to do a little article read. And when I get into the transcript, like essentially the transcript of the call, what Hunter Campbell says, just before I even get into my thoughts about it, just think to yourself while I'm reading it, like, if the reason why fucking Fabia leaked this call was supposed to be the smoking gun, but you just tell me if this is a smoking gun or if Hunter Campbell is being reasonable. All right? So anyway, we'll just get into the article. All right, so the Diego Sanchez train may have made its last stop in the UFC, but the car that carries all the drama continues to barrel forward, which is right. By the way, this is an article from MMA Junkie. I've just found a quick article that transcripted the entire call for me. And so anyway, we'll continue. And the majority of that drama seems to be consistently centered on Sanchez's coach, Joshua Fabia, which is true. Sanchez on Friday published on his Instagram account a video of a recorded phone conversation reportedly from April 9th between Fabia and the UFC's chief legal officer, Hunter Campbell. Smoking gun conversation with UFC lawyer, Sanchez posted the video caption with. Listen to it for yourself. None of this is normal fans, friends, family, fighters, and casuals. So, this is where it starts to explain the phone conversation. The gist of the conversation, which runs around 7 minutes long and culminates with what sounds like Fabia and purportedly Sanchez laughing after ending the call, is Campbell's concern about a request Fabia made to someone in the UFC's medical office for all the fighters' records throughout his history with the promotion, which you'll understand why this is weird, all right? So this is just paraphrasing or starting to paraphrase what Campbell said, and then it's going to get into what Campbell actually said later. But anyway, that request, Campbell said on the call, meant he had to ask Sanchez and Fabia if Sanchez was not prepared either physically or mentally for his co-main event fight against Donald Cerrone. That fight was scheduled for May 8th, and he was pulled from it about early last week, I think late the week before. And this was before he got released from the UFC. The direct quote I received was, "You stated that the, quote, long-term effects of Diego being an MMA fighter was your basis for requesting the request, the medical request," Campbell said to Fabia on the call. "So I went through this with Mark Hunt, and here's the reality. If you're concerned, or Sanchez is concerned, that he's having negative effects, then we're not going to fight him, and I'm going to pull him from the fight right now, and we're going to call it a day, and we'll release him. And he can go do something else with his life because I'm not putting anybody in that cage that doesn't feel 100% or thinks they're suffering from any medical issues." So, that's kind of fair. So that seems to be what Sanchez's post referred to as the smoking gun that Campbell made reference to releasing him, which came to fruition. That's essentially what they think the smoking gun is. But what appears to be the reality is Fabia's request to the UFC's medical staff triggered the red flag that led to Campbell, along with the UFC matchmaker Son Shelby, reaching out to find out if Sanchez was having issues they needed to know about. So, this was the response that Fabia gave in response to that question. Well, it has more to do with how is his physical body and all the treatments that he's had over 17 years of injuries in his hands, his face, and all over his body that I'm referring to, Fabia said. If he needs medical attention after his career, how is he supposed to move on without medical records? That's what I'm concerned about. That's all it is. If he has to go see another doctor about his hip or his back or any of these things, how is that doctor? Why would we have to pay for new imaging, new everything when it should be on file? I don't understand what the problem is. That's what Fabia kind of said. So Fabia also expressed aggravation over what he said was the UFC's request for information from the Sanchez side less than 4 weeks from the fight. He wondered why those requests weren't made 10 or 12 weeks before the fight after it was signed. So Campbell kind of makes things clear because it says if Fabia didn't understand what the problem is, Campbell made it more clear with his response. So this is what Hunter Campbell, the UFC's lawyer, responded with. "Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to send an email to you guys," Campbell said. "I'm going to express my concerns. I need a confirmation in writing that he's physically able to compete. He's not suffered any ill effects of being an MMA fighter. He doesn't feel like he has any brain issues or cognitive issues. I've got to go through the whole battery that I do with everybody that sort of makes a claim that at least they're telling me that you made in this situation." So, he's kind of trying to tell them, because it continues on. "And if he's not comfortable doing that, then we pull the fight and we move on. It's very simple." Essentially, it's because they're trying to cover their own backs. If the guy is expressing concerns that he may have a health issue that keeps him from fighting or may affect him big time after the fight, seriously, they're trying to cover their backs, and I understand that. right? So I can't ever be in a situation where 10 years from now, I've got a guy that's drooling on himself in a hospital, and I've got another guy saying, yeah, we told the UFC before his last fight that he was having all these issues, and they put him in there anyway. See, it's to cover their asses. Fabia said Sanchez was not having any issues from a medical standpoint. So why fucking request that then? So we'll jump through whatever hoops you need, Fabia said. Diego's 100% fine as he is here with me right now. He's fine, man. Everything's good. According to a report from Yahoo Sports, Sanchez passed his pre-fight medical test and was cleared to fight. But after Campbell emailed Sanchez's attorney the way he described in the call with Fabia and asked for written confirmation from Sanchez that he was not having medical issues, the response was insufficient enough that it apparently prompted Sanchez's release from the UFC. So essentially, he's lying. They think he's lying about his medical issues. They think he now has medical issues because the request that Fabia made was a little weird and kind of alarming. So essentially, Fabia just got Sanchez fired from the UFC. Sanchez was paid his full show money plus his scheduled win bonus and athlete outfitting pay, even though he didn't fight, Yahoo reported. So that's good. Thursday, Sanchez released the video from UFC 253 this past fall. So this was like a while ago, I guess. I guess this was ahead of his Jake Matthews fight, the video I explained earlier. So anyway, and later in that day, yeah, he posted that he was free at last, and then tagged all the people I fucking said. So essentially, Joshua Fabia just straight up fucking ruined a man's career because he was butthurt and he's trying to save his own ass, I guess, because he's trying to make money off of Diego, but he doesn't want to damage Diego and then get sued. But the thing is, the UFC wants to do the same thing. The UFC's been worried about Diego for a while. There's a reason why this was supposed to be his last fight, and you're talking about things like, what about later down in his career, as if he's going to continue his career. No, just let Diego hang up the gloves, Fabio. You're crazy, dude. Go abuse some other young fighter, man, that has so many years left in his life. Don't fucking abuse poor Diego. But anyway, that's it. That's all. That's it for the Joshua Fabia fucking drama. We'll get into UFC 261 now. We'll get into UFC 261. I'll talk about the main card in a bit, but I just want to talk a few things because UFC 261 was a sign of a little bit of controversy. According to the Vegas Herald, I think it is, whatever the fucking Vegas newspaper is, they weren't too happy that UFC 261 was coming back with a full house of fans. So I understand their concerns, but I had a belief. I thought I heard them say that they the people that bought tickets, they did a vaccine screening, so people who are vaccinated are allowed to go or whatever, some shit like that. But anyway, yeah, UFC 261 was the first fight in a while since, I believe, McGregor Poirier 2 that had fans in attendance, and it was actually a full house. I believe 15,000 people in attendance. So it was a full house, and I'm going to talk about the main card in a bit. I know you guys don't want to hear about this, but it's just, I'm really hoping that they did some vaccine screening or something like that, because I did not see a single person in the crowd wearing masks at all when the camera would pan to the crowd during the pay-per-view or even the prelims or anything. I didn't see a single fan wearing masks, but all the UFC personnel and all that were wearing masks and doing their shit. So I found that a little concerning. But anyway, we'll get into this. Obviously, you guys know who won and all that. We'll talk about the fights in a bit. But I just want to say, wow. I figured that, Valentina Shevchenko was going to win. But I can't believe she won in the way she did. And obviously, everybody knows about the main event's result by now. But I just want to say this before I get into talking about the main card. This is a fun fact. Not a single fight went the distance. Every single fight ended by a TKO or a KO. And not a single fight on the main card made it. And that was pretty much almost the entire night of fights. Was only a few of them made it to decision. Almost all of them were finishes. But anyway, you guys probably want to hear about the main card now, so let's get into it. The first fight of the night was a fight between veteran Anthony Smith, one of my, personal favorite fighters. He's not my all-time favorite, but I like him. I like his fight style. It's very gritty, and, he's got so many fights in his career, but he's still a young guy. He's only 32 years old, I believe, 31, something like that. So anyway, it was Anthony Smith going up against the young New Zealander, I believe, or maybe he's from Australia. Maybe he's just trained there, but I'm going to say Aussie anyway. So the Aussie Jimmy Crute. And I just got to say it, man. Like, this fight was really fun, and it was only one round, and it ended in a very odd way. So the fight started with Jimmy Crute just kind of coming out aggressive and, backing Anthony Smith up. And he was, Jimmy Crute looked pretty fucking sharp. And I'm not, discounting Anthony Smith. Anthony Smith looked great as well. Anthony Smith looked pretty sharp himself. He was pretty good defensively and everything. And he was hitting leg kicks like they were no tomorrow. And note that, because those leg kicks led to his fucking finish, man. It was awesome. So the entire round is pretty much Jimmy Crute kind of walking Anthony Smith down. Anthony Smith kind of defending all the shots and just, picking him off with tiny little shots here and there, trying to get his feeling for everything. Anthony Smith lands a kick that lands like around the knee, like above the knee kind of. Lands like right on the side of the knee and like wraps around. The peroneal nerve, it's the same thing that happened to, what's his face? Sean O'Malley against Chito Vera. He hit the peroneal nerve and you can see it. His leg just, like Jimmy Crute's leg just buckles and Jimmy Crute goes for a takedown and actually controlled Anthony Smith pretty goddamn well on the ground with just one leg. Like, he didn't really need too much pressure on that bad leg. But after he controlled Anthony Smith on the ground for the rest of the round, he got back up and walked to his corner, and he was kind of looking a little unstable. The doctor came in and checked him, and I gotta give credit to Jimmy Crute. Obviously, it was Anthony Smith's night. That's without a doubt. You're probably guessing where the fuck this is going. You're gonna say, oh, the fight was stopped, wasn't it? Yes, the fight was stopped, but the way it was stopped, it was pretty neat. Jimmy Crute sat there for a second on the stool and then got up. He was standing there and it seemed like his leg was okay. The doctor's kind of like telling him, walk forward, walk forward. So, Jimmy Crute walks forward. He seems fine. He's like pounding his chest. He's like asking you, are we good? Are we good? Are we good? The doctor tells him back up. He backs up, but like trips a bit, but it doesn't seem like his leg gave out. It just looks like he kind of tripped. So the doctor tells him, walk forward again. He walks forward and he seems fine. His leg may be a little buckly, but that's like, it wasn't too noticeable. And then, he's still asking, are we good? Are we good? And then he backs up again. And that's when his leg gives out again. And that's when the doc like waves off the fight. Jimmy Crute really tried to put on a poker face there and was like, he really wanted to continue. But even after the fight, it was hilarious. Joe actually interviewed him in cage and Jimmy Crute was like, cause he asked Jimmy Crute, he's like, what was the game plan if, the doctor let you go on? He's like, honestly, I would have just probably took him down again. My leg was dead. It was just funny as fuck. But honestly, just absolute grit from Jimmy Crute. He wanted to continue on that fucking dead leg, man. But Anthony Smith, great, perfect, just perfectly placed leg kick right around the knee that just knocked that nerve dead and got him the leg kick TKO finish, But apparently, last night was the night of leg kicks. Or not last night, sorry. UFC 261 was the night of leg kicks because they happened a lot, but oh god, like just I'm thinking back at it. And I don't like it. I don't like thinking about this, but I'm sure you've all heard about it by now. But Uriah Hall was scheduled to fight Chris Weidman in the second fight of the night on the main card. And everything was going good. Chris Weidman threw a jab here and there to kind of get the feeling out. Uriah Hall didn't throw any jabs. It was kind of just the feeling out process. It was literally the first 20 seconds. It ended in 17 seconds. The first leg kick Chris Weidman throws, Uriah Hall just kind of plants on his foot that it's going to land on and doesn't check it, but takes it. And I think it was like where Chris Weidman hit with his leg and where it landed, like where it impacted, just cracked the fucking shin bone in half, like he did with Anderson Silva when he checked that leg kick so many years ago. And he did the exact same thing that Anderson Silva did that so many years ago. It happened. He didn't realize it happened, but the fans did. And then the moment he stepped back on it and it fucking folded on him, it was immediate. He felt the pain. He realized it happened, but just like, it's amazing how in that short second before he stepped on it, he didn't realize it happened. Like, his face, when he landed the leg kick and it snapped, if you look at his face on the replay, he's still, like, so zoned on Uriah Hall, watching his, like, movement. And then when he steps on it, it immediately, like, changes. But it was so disturbing to watch live. They showed it. They showed the replay of it in slow motion. And I was like, oh, God damn it. Like, I want to look away, but I want to see how bad this was. And it was fucking bad. I regret not looking away. But anyway, it was a very unfortunate end to the fight. Uriah Hall showed absolute class at the end of it because he wasn't celebrating the victory or anything. He didn't take it. He was like, this is not how I wanted to win the fight, man. Like, we spent like the last few months just putting our bodies on the line and spending weeks away from our families at a time and putting so much money into it. And, you know, for it to end like that, we don't want it to end like that. And obviously for Uriah Hall as well, like, yeah, it's an easy win for him, but obviously he wanted to showcase his skills and he didn't even throw a fucking strike. He literally won the fight without throwing a strike. He just dodged the like 1 or 2 jabs that Chris Weidman fucking threw, and then like took that leg kick, and the leg kick was what ended it. Like, he did not throw a single fucking strike. He didn't even counter the leg kick. It just happened. So yeah, it was just shocking, really. But anyway, that was that for that fight. I didn't even want to fucking talk about that fight. But I had to. We'll get on to the first of the 3 title bouts now, because fuck that shit. I'm not talking about the leg break anymore. So the first title fight of the night was a women's flyweight title belt between Valentina Shevchenko and the woman that everybody thought had the chance of beating her, Jessica Andrade. And man, I actually believed that she may have a puncher's chance or something, or she might at least pose a problem to Shevchenko. I didn't think that Andrade was going to win, but I thought she was going to at least do better than she did against Shevchenko. And it's not a knock on Jessica Andrade. For all I know, Andrade showed up that night, you know? But Shevchenko, and like all I know, Shevchenko is just that good. The fight came out, Andrade immediately came out aggressive. Shevchenko was perfectly just countering it and then got the distance between them, and every time Andrade would try to close the distance, she would either land like an oblique kick or a body kick and just keep her at bay with like a nice jab or something. And it got to the ground, and she threatened an armbar at first, and then it kind of switched over to a side control, and it really didn't take long. The first round was literally just Andrade trying to take her down and trying to get the striking off, and Valentina just, you know, jabbing the fuck out of her and keeping her away. And it was almost like in the second round where it ended, Valentina was like, well, you tried to take me down in the first round and nothing happened. Literally, she tried for the high crotch takedown, lifted, and couldn't even lift Valentina off her feet. Like, couldn't even lift her at all off her feet. So it was almost like Valentina's like, I will show you a real takedown. Judo throws her, kind of gets into a clinch with her, and judo throws her, gets into a side control, threatens an armbar. Andrade gets out of the armbar, and Shevchenko scrambles into side control again, gets her into a crucifix, and then just starts landing these elbows out of hell. Like these vicious slicing elbows that started to cut Andrade up. And at first, Andrade was doing good trying to get out of the way. She got hit with a couple elbows and then started bucking and moving and almost got out of it. But Shevchenko's just so strong on the ground, apparently, and fucking just held the position, got her back in the crucifix, started landing the slicing elbows down. And obviously, if you've ever seen elbows landing in the crucifix, unless you're like really waggling and wiggling and you've got the hip strength of a fucking ox while you're getting hit, there's nothing you can do. Like, your arms are pinned and the person's just landing punches and elbows on you. You can't block your face, really, except for maybe a little bit of hand that might get through, even if that gets through. So it's like she was just landing slicing elbows, and unfortunately the ref stepped in, and it wasn't Jessica Andrade's night, but it just showed how fucking scary Valentina Shevchenko was. And it was almost like Valentina was trying to prove something to everybody, saying like, you're saying that this woman can beat me. No, not happening. Not happening, ladies and gentlemen. And that's exactly what fucking happened. She made Andrade look like nothing. She kept her at bay with her jabs and her kicks. And then when Andrade would close the distance, she would control the clinch and then force Andrade to try for a takedown. And when Andrade would try for a takedown, yes, Valentina would try and defend it, but sometimes she wouldn't. And fucking Andrade would try to get the high crotch and still couldn't fucking lift her anyway. So it's like, holy shit, how strong is Valentina really with those hips trying to keep her down centered? Like, holy shit. It was just a great performance by Valentina Shevchenko. Just one of those moments where Shevchenko showed why she's the 125 champ and why everybody thinks that it's just a division that's probably completely swept. There's contenders, don't get me wrong, but you look at them and then you compare them to Valentina Shevchenko, who went 2 fights full with Amanda Nunes, and the second one, a lot of people believed she won, and including myself. I actually thought she would have got the judge's nod, but I'm not too mad about it. She's a scary woman. She's gonna fucking rule over that flyweight division for a while. But anyway, if you loved that women's bout, we had another one. It was the strawweight division, and we had Weylie Zhang defending her title against Rosenama Yunus, and this had everybody shocked once again. So Weylie Zhang was coming in the favorite, kind of, and especially after Rose said her weird-ass statements about communism and trying to pin Weylie as a communist because she's from China. And, yeah, it was kind of weird. But anyway, this fight was incredible. Weylie came out swinging, very aggressive, but kind of slowed down after a bit and realized she couldn't land her punches properly. And Rose was just looking incredible on stand-up. I swear to God, more time she spends with Trevor Whitman and Pat Barry, as much as I hate her and Pat Barry's relationship, how it started, they're making her into a striking killer. Like, holy fuck. She was just constantly moving. Her footwork looked incredible. Her head movement was constantly just moving everywhere. It was never on the center. It was never stopped. Like, it was constantly off target and was always keeping Weylie guessing. Her strikes were incredible too. She would like threaten a body punch, but then go for like a hook to the head, or she would threaten a hook to the head or a jab to the head and then go for a body punch or something. And, that actually ended up being the finish early into the first round. It was like a minute into the first round. They're in the center of the octagon, and she's already gotten Weylie with a couple body shots. And so she fakes, like, it was so nice how she does it. She comes in and she like does this little thing where she like lifts her leg a little bit and fakes for a body kick, and then makes Weylie go for the like kind of like extend her hands out to go and like catch the kick. And as she does that perfectly, she brings her leg up like almost like a question mark, like roundhouse, and just clips, just absolutely placed on the jaw, perfectly placed on the jaw, clips Weylie Zhang and just knocks her on her ass flat and then just finishes her on the ground. And it was just a picture perfect finish for Rose. Like, it was incredible. I didn't want Rose to win, but I was happy that she won. It was an incredible way for her to win. And yet again, Thug Rose had the commentary booth absolutely freaking out. Joe Rogan and Daniel Cormier absolutely holding each other, and then all three of them just looking at each other in disbelief. It was fucking hilarious. But anyway, that was it for the strawweight bout. Congrats to Rosenama Yunus. I'm wondering who's going to be next for her, because, maybe Weylie wants a rematch, and maybe she'll give Weylie a rematch, but there are some decent contenders at strawweight, so we'll see. We'll see what comes up at strawweight for Rose, but until then, congratulations to Rose, honestly. And that leaves us with the main event of the evening. So, we had what I believe was a welterweight title fight that probably shouldn't have happened, but it happened anyway because it was going to sell lots of pay-per-views. Instead, it didn't. I think it only sold like 700K, I believe. But anyway, Kamaru Uzman versus Jorge Masvidal 2 for, yet again, the UFC welterweight title. Like I said, I personally don't think this fight should have happened. In the first one, Kamaru Uzman just completely dominated Jorge Masvidal, like just from bell 1 to bell 5, man. Like just completely dominated him from start to finish, and I didn't think this should have happened again, but Jorge somehow talked himself into a rematch, and it happened. I think the biggest one, I believe, like the biggest excuse was like, oh, I I only had 6 days notice, and I guess technically he did have 6 days notice if you want to be real, but fucking Dustin Poirier was saying that he was in training camp with him, helping him for or not the Khabib fight. What fight was it? Was it the Dan Hooker fight? I believe. Anyway, he was in training camp long before for 6 days, prepared for Uzman. So he was at least, if he wasn't at least preparing for Uzman directly, he was in shape enough. But anyway, the rematch happened, and I won't lie, the fight started. Jorge tried to do a stupid little flying knee thing, but faked it, and he actually looked pretty good in the first. I'm gonna be real. But Uzman looked really sharp as well on the feet, man. Like, looked incredible on the feet. Was piecing Jorge up on the feet, and then he used those jabs that he was using to piece Jorge up to land takedowns. And this is where I give Jorge credit, man. He wouldn't properly, he probably could properly defend the takedowns. It's just Kamaru Usman's a monster with takedowns, so he'd get taken down by Kamaru Usman. And then Jorge would start scrambling and shit. And he got up to his feet pretty goddamn fast and gave Kamaru Usman a run for his money off the bottom. Like, threatened him with shots off the bottom. Was really dangerous. But that was the whole first round. And Kamaru, the entire fight, was really trying to hit this overhand right that would, if it didn't land, would transition into like a double leg, or at least fake a double leg. And it was hitting a lot. Like, it wasn't landing, but he would miss it, and then he would land the takedown, or he would get it blocked. Like, it would almost land, but it would get blocked. Well, not even like a couple minutes, like maybe a minute into the second round, they're in the middle of the octagon, and lo and behold, Kamaru tries this overhand right that leads to a double leg, and he actually lands right on the button of Jorge Masvidal and knocks him out. Fucking cold. Like, ice cold, man. He was dead on the fucking pavement, or on the canvas. He was just dead on the canvas. Jorge's soul left his body when it landed, because between rounds, they had poured so much. They poured a whole fucking bottle of water on Jorge's head, so he had so much water in his hair probably and shit. So when the punch landed, you just see this big spritz of water land in real time as Jorge drops like a sack of potatoes, man. Oh my god. It was a great, perfectly placed punch by Kamaru Usman, and it shows, because a lot of people kept saying, oh, Usman doesn't hit great, even the Burns fight didn't prove anything. Well, there you go. Usman hits like a fucking truck, because he just knocked Jorge Masvidal out cold. Even Jorge Masvidal said the guy hits like a truck. But holy shit, that finish was just incredible. I watched it over and over again for the next couple days after the event happened, because it was just so, like, nice. To me, it was beautiful. It was picture perfect. I love it. But anyway, that was it for UFC 261. I believe they're in talks with Kamaru Usman for UFC 263, I want to say. Maybe UFC 264 or something. But Kamaru is planning to fight Michael Chiesa next, I believe. But anyway, that's it for UFC 261. I think it's time that we get into this week's card that just happened. This one, not too much to talk about, except for the last two fights, and I guess the Ion Kuttalaba fight as well. But the last two fights ended in extraordinary fashion, and I will talk about it. So let's get into this week's fight card. All right, so the first fight on the card was Merab Dvalishvili versus Cody Stamann. And before I get into the main card, and before I get into this bout, because this bout was pretty fucking great, all the fucking prelim fights were actually pretty damn great. Like they got everybody hyped. They were pretty back and forth. But anyway, this fight was between the 13th ranked bantamweight and the 14th ranked bantamweight, and this fight was so fun. Cody Stamann looked so sharp on the feet, but Merab Dvalishvili, man, just he looks better each fight. The more he fights, the better he gets. I swear to God, he's like a fucking Saiyan, man. The more damage he takes, the more fights he gets in, the stronger he gets, the scarier he gets. He was landing takedowns like they were nothing throughout the whole fight, piecing up Cody Stamann and like going toe to toe with him in the boxing, actually giving Cody Stamann, who was seen as the better boxer in this bout, a run for his money on the feet, which actually made the bout even funner to watch. So Merab landed like, I think, what was it, like 8 takedowns or 6 or 8 takedowns in the first round alone, and I think it was like 16 takedowns by the end of the fight. He started to slow down near the second round, but holy shit, Merab just kept going, man, and showed why he is the machine, because he has decent cardio, man. Both of these guys didn't really slow down much near the end of the fight. Second round was more or less the same, less takedowns landing, but Merab just looking so fucking sharp on the feet with those strikes, just landing takedowns at will and just piecing up Cody Stamann, even landing these like nice little uppercuts that I thought actually hurt Cody Stamann, but nope. Cody Stamann has the fucking strongest chin made of fucking vibranium, dude. But anyway, holy shit, this fight was fun. In the third round, Cody Stamann actually gave Merab a run for his money, because obviously Cody Stamann was down 2-0 going into the third round. Merab won the second round easily. He needed a knockout. He needed a finish. So Stamann was just going in with his strikes and had Merab on the back foot quite a bit, and I thought he hurt Merab a couple times, but Merab just playing it smart, landing takedowns, landing clinches when he needed to, and he was striking back still in the fight against Cody Stamann and ended up winning the fight 30-27. It was such a fun fight, and I wasn't surprised if that would have gotten fight of the night. But that leads us into the middleweight bout between 15th ranked Sean Strickland and Krzysztof Jotko. And this fight was pretty interesting. So Sean Strickland, he started out a little aggressive, but then slowed down and allowed Jotko, like Krzysztof Jotko, to get aggressive. And Jotko was really looking for that knockout shot, like looking for those heavy flurries and stuff. And they would land sometimes, and Sean Strickland just ate them. He ate them with everything he got. Sometimes they looked to hurt him. Sometimes it looked like they just did nothing. It was like punching a fucking robot, like a Terminator. And it clearly did the trick, apparently, because near the end of the first round, it was appearing that Jotko was starting to get a little tired. And then, like, when you're getting into the second round, Sean Strickland's breathing pretty heavy, but Jotko is just, like, he's just walking back and forth while Jotko is just sitting on his stool, looking utterly exhausted coming into the second round. So that was when it all changed, man. Sean Strickland just letting Jotko try to throw his heavy strikes and stuff, tire himself out more, and Sean Strickland just picking his shots, keeping his hands close to his chest, and just showing that he had pretty, like, not amazing combos in boxing, but smart boxing IQ. Picking his shots properly, landing the right shots, and not getting too zealous with them. Like, just, staying calm, really. And, mixing them in with his takedowns to, get him that extra point advantage. And then after that, round 2 ended up going to Sean Strickland. Honestly, I personally thought that round 1 went to Sean Strickland, but I guess the judges thought round 1 went to Krzysztof Jotko. But the third round was more or less the same. Jotko was just looking utterly exhausted. Obviously, they're middleweights, so Strickland was looking a little bit more exhausted now, but still in better shape than Jotko at this point in the fight. And same thing, just on the feet, just keeping his hands close to his chest, picking his shots, and being calm. Keeping out of the way of certain shots, and sometimes eating them if he had to, man. Just answering back when he had to. He even got the praise of very smart boxing trainer in Teddy Atlas. So it was just a very interesting fight to watch. It was very fun if you're a fan of striking, because it was very technical and just weird to see Strickland fight such a way, because usually he's more of like a rough and tough guy or like a ground game guy. But he played it very smart. He ate those shots like they were nothing, which also kind of surprised me. But you know how I said that I thought that Sean Strickland won the first round? Well, the judges didn't see the same. He ended up winning the fight 29-28, but obviously it had to have been the second round and the third round because he clearly won both of those rounds. That leads us to the next fight of the night, which is the Ion Kuttalaba fight, the one that I really wanted to talk about. You know how I said that the Merab fight, I was surprised that it, probably would have been fight of the night? Well, after I saw this fight, that just blew it out of the water. So these guys had already had some extreme tension building up to this fight because at weigh-ins on Friday, Ion Kuttalaba actually grabbed Dustin Jacoby by the neck, trying to scare him or whatever, and then pushed him away. And a lot of people made a big deal about it because if you guys didn't know, there was a fight last fight night that happened that was called off because Drakkar Klose was supposed to fight Jeremy Stephens, and Jeremy Stephens pushed him at the weigh-ins, and then Drakkar Klose got a fucking weird concussion from it, something like that. But anyway, thankfully, nothing happened to Dustin Jacoby, and he ended up stepping into the octagon with Ion Kuttalaba, and boy, was it fucking fun because it was ground game, striking game, ground game, striking game. Both guys just putting it on the line. Heavy strikes landing. There was at one point he was eating all of Ion's strikes and, defending all of Ion's takedowns. And Jacoby was landing strikes, hurting Ion. Ion was eating or hitting strikes on Jacoby, hurting Jacoby. It was just back and forth the whole time. Ion Kuttalaba took Jacoby down and just completely dominated him in the first round, making it a 10-8 round. But then Jacoby came back and kind of rallied back and started giving Ion Kuttalaba a run for his money and ended up winning that round, man. It was really weird how he ended up winning that round because he just started coming back. I think it was more so because Ion started trying for more takedowns again, and he was just exhausted after dominating on the ground in the first half, while Dustin probably just kind of sat there and took it. But in the second round, Dustin Jacoby started really getting his footing. He was looking like the better, fresher fighter, started hitting the heavier shots. I thought he had Kuttalaba hurt a couple times. And then in the third round, it was just back and forth. Both guys just throwing the leather. Both guys are exhausted. Both guys want the finish. Both guys want the win. I'm sure both guys' corners, when they went back, they were like, okay, you both need the finish. It's 1-1. One of you guys needs to win this fight. You can't leave it in the hands of the judges. And that, that would probably prove prophetic if one of them said that, because they let it into the hands of the judges after a long third round where they just threw leather, hit each other with nasty shots. Most of them were one shots, but mostly Kuttalaba's were one shots. Jacoby was just landing shot after shot after shot. Like I said, I thought he had Ion hurt a couple times, but Ion was doing a great job keeping Jacoby on the back foot too and making him eat shots. It was just crazy. So it went to the judges. The first judge scores it 29-28, Kuttalaba. The second judge scores it 29-28, Jacoby. The third judge scores it 28-28 for a split draw. Yeah. I mean, I'm not mad about the decision. Nobody was robbed. It was a close-ass fight, and it could have went either way. And low-key, because of the 10-8 round, and I kind of thought that Dustin Jacoby won the last round, I kind of figured Dustin Jacoby probably wouldn't have won anyway if he did that last round because, it was 10-8 the first round, so he needed to do something. But he either needed to 10-8 Kuttalaba in that round or he needed to finish Kuttalaba. But I wasn't mad with the draw. It was an incredible fight. And it just got me even more hyped for the upcoming co-main event that happened, which was between my favorite featherweight right now, Giga Chikadze, versus one of my all-time favorite featherweights because he's just an OG, Cub Swanson. And I was expecting violence in this fight, but boy, was I not expecting this. So Giga Chikadze's been on a tear lately. His last couple fights, I believe his last one, he got a first-round KO, I believe by body kick or something, or it was body kick and punches. And his one before that, I think it was just a first-round KO or a second-round KO. He's just been on a tear, Giga Chikadze. He's just been looking incredible. So what I didn't expect was, I expected Giga Chikadze to be throwing kicks and everything, because that's he's a very tall guy. He's 6 foot. He's got like 74-inch reach advantage. So he can use his jabs, but he loves to use his kicks to keep you at bay. And he'd land kicks to the body every now and then, and they would be pretty sharp. But Cub Swanson's known as a guy who can handle his shots for the most part. He's a guy that just loves to be in wars. And Giga Chikadze hit him with like a couple body shots. I think it was like the second or third body shot that landed. It clearly hurt Cub. It landed like around the rib liver area, and Cub just kind of like backed up and then like started kind of keeling, like curling up almost, falling over, and then he tried to get back up to his feet, but Giga Chikadze just like swarmed on him and started fucking eating him with punches, and the ref stepped in and stopped it. It was a beautiful placed liver kick to the liver that just shut him down for a moment, that just dropped him, because like when you get kicked there, man, it's not fun. I've heard stories and it's not fun. I don't ever want to be kicked in the liver. It's crazy, but he hit it pinpoint, hit it hard enough, shut down Cub Swanson's body for a moment, made him curl up, and he capitalized on the finish. And it was really quick, really shocking for me, but it was a great finish. I was happy for Giga Chikadze. It was a beautiful finish, my God. But not as beautiful as what's coming up. So the main event, we've got Dominic Reyes, who's been in there with the likes of, Glover Teixeira, Jan Blachowicz, John Jones, dudes like that, man. Just absolute best of the best in the light heavyweight division. And so he goes up against Yuri Procházka, this 28-year-old, I think like he's from Czech Republic. He's just absolute phenom, just KO master coming from Japan, because he's been fighting pretty much most of his fights in Rizin. And, even though Rizin, you could easily say, oh, it's Japan, the fights are fixed, he's facing some great competition over there. And his debut against Volkan Oezdemir showed that he was no slouch, and it wasn't going to be just like a hype job or anything. So, my God, man, this fight, both guys come in at the beginning just aggressively. They were feeling each other out, but they were throwing heavy shots back and forth, man, hurting each other. Procházka just landing these heavy-ass flurries. In the first round, he had Dominic Reyes look so fucking hurt because he was getting him with all these heavy shots, just pinning him down with these nice flurries. But Dominic Reyes had, good awareness of where he was in the octagon, so he'd move out of the direction properly, wouldn't get himself mostly backed up against the cage. Very smart. He was still kind of in it. He was just wobbly on his feet. That was about it. But yeah, Yuri just would not let up, man. Just almost had Dominic Reyes hurt and finished a couple times in the first round. So by the end of the first round, Dominic Reyes is going back to his corner, absolutely fucking hurt, man. Just bloodied, battered, but not broken, man. He's still ready to die. He's still ready to go in there. He's ready for another round. He's just breathing heavy, blood pouring down his face because he's just got battered, but he's ready to go back in. And I say that because second round comes. Both guys looking great, even though, Dominic Reyes just kind of got beat up. But both guys looking great. Dominic Reyes, though, starts coming out with some heavy shots of his own. He's learning how to land his patent left hook now. Landing it pretty much on the button. There was a couple times that it stung Yuri Procházka. It stung him bad. It had him wobbled at least once or twice. And he just kept stinging him with that left hand every time Yuri would come in with some shots. Yuri would miss a shot and he would land with a left hook, or he would hurt Dominic and start coming in with the flurries. And before you could land with his flurries, he'd hit Yuri with a left hook or a left overhand or a left jab, like a left cross, and it would just stop Yuri dead in his tracks. It would sting him. So he started using that properly, but Yuri was still good at just closing the distance. And then he started landing these like elbows against the fence, and they were like great elbows too, hurting. But man, dude, like Dominic Reyes was just eating these things. And then they separated. He started throwing everything he had at Dominic Reyes at this point, because there was a couple times leading up to this finish that Dominic Reyes hit him with that left hand multiple times and looked like it had stung him bad. So they're against the cage, and Yuri Procházka hits him with an elbow and then hurts him with like a hook, starts landing some flurries, missing a couple shots. He's throwing some kicks, and then he throws this spinning elbow that just lands like square right on the side of the head, the temple. And Dominic Reyes just drops face first, face plant, dead on the canvas. It was fucking beautiful the way it landed. He closed the distance, started hitting these like little shots, and then spun and landed the elbow. And Dominic Reyes just drops, just like a boom, right on the ground. It was a beautiful finish for Yuri Procházka, and like the only thing I got to take away from it is a little bit more work. Like, he's got great cardio and everything, and he can take those shots, but work on his defense, man, because he fought with his hands down a lot and got clipped with the left hand because of that, and it hurt him quite a bit. But clearly you can eat those shots. Just work on keeping your hands up. But other than that, man, dude, I feel like this dude's gonna be a huge fucking issue. Dana did confirm that the winner of this main event was getting the next title shot after whoever wins against Jan Blachowicz and Glover Teixeira. But my God, man, like, that finish was beautiful, and Yuri Procházka could very well be a problem in this division. A big, big problem in this division, especially with the way he KO'd Dominic Reyes like that. Beautiful KO, man. And he almost had him done in the first round a couple times, man. So Yuri Procházka, with those hands, man, with that power in his body, he is going to be a fucking problem. My God. Anyway, next week, we've got May 8th. I believe it was supposed to be TJ Dillashaw versus Corey Sandhagen, but unfortunately, TJ Dillashaw got a very deep cut on his eyebrow like a week or two before the fight, so it won't give it enough time to heal up after it's stitched, and obviously you don't want that to open in the middle of the fight or something. Obviously you want it to open naturally. You don't want it to be an already open wound and make it worse or something. So he pulled out of the fight. Corey Sandhagen was a good guy about it. He was like, get well soon, TJ, let's do this again. So now, May 8th, I don't know if I'll be talking about it or not. I might just skip it and leave it for the week I go down to visit my girlfriend, because May 15th is the day before I leave to come back home when I'm down visiting my girlfriend, and we're going to be watching her first ever pay-per-view, which is UFC 262, sorry. But anyway, the next week's event is Michelle Waterson versus... Or not... Yeah, is it Michelle Waterson? I think it's Michelle Waterson versus somebody. See, that's how much I fucking care. It's bad to say that, and usually I'm not like this, but I really don't care. I was just excited for TJ Dillashaw and Corey Sandhagen, man. But anyway, the week after that, though, we've got UFC 262, which is without a doubt going to be huge, because we've got not only the lightweight king is going to be finally crowned, but I don't know if they've changed it yet or not, but right now, as far as I'm concerned, it is going to be a 5-round co-main event between Leon Edwards and Nate Diaz. And Nate Diaz in 5-round main events or just 5-round fights is fun. So, like, I'm not expecting him to win, but it's just fun. So it's going to be a great card. There's some other great fights on the card as well. Let's just take a look at what fights are on the card here. We've also got, Tony Ferguson versus Beneil Dariush, and then Caitlin Chukagian's going to be on the card, as well as Shane Burgos and Edson Barboza opening up the card. So honestly, man, like, this card's going to be popping. The prelims are probably stacked too. I believe they are. I believe the headliner for it is it Jacare? I believe Jacare is headlining it, and then Jack Hermansson's on there, and I think he's up against Edmund Shabazian, so that's pretty big. Andrea Lee and Antonia Shevchenko are opening up the prelims, I believe. Just the entire card is going to be pretty stacked from top to bottom, so I'm excited for that. And a little bit of a treat, I'm going to try to get my girlfriend on the podcast to talk about how her first ever pay-per-view was. But anyway, that's it from me. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the week. I hope you guys enjoy the fights that are coming this week and next week. I'm excited for UFC 262. I don't know if you guys can tell, but I really am. Anyway, I will see you guys in the next episode. I hope you guys have a great Monday. I hope you guys have a great week as well. I will see you guys in the next episode. Peace out.
You've been listening to the Dillo's Dojo podcast. Keep in touch with Dillo on his social media at Dillo Ross on Twitter and Dillo Ross on Instagram.